Warning. The following podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Trespassing is not only illegal, but often incredibly dangerous. The hosts do not condone any activities that could put their listeners in harm's way, and encourage you to proceed with caution and do your research before exploring the unknown. We cannot be held liable for any accidents, injury, or hauntings that may occur. Listener discretion is advised.
Sorry.
You should be sorry.
For party rocking.
Did you know that they are uncle and nephew?
I did not know that until recently, and
That boggles the mind.
it's a little frustrating.
Did you know? I don't know how you would have known this, but I was very much into that song when it came out.
Sorry for party rocking?
No,
Or
the
Party Rock Anthem?
Sorry for party rocking, sure, by tangentially, sure. But no, I was very much into Party Rock Anthem to the point that we went to Pigeon Forge one time, the year that was really popular, and me and my sister had matching t-shirts with like the little party rockin' guy. You know, the thing that like it looks like the person that you would see on like a bathroom sign, but like doing the little dance. We had matching t-shirts that had those, and I think maybe they said like Party Rock Anthem or Sorry for Party Rocking or something like that on them, but they matched, and we got them at one of those like $9.99 or less stores on the Strip in Pigeon Forge. Yeah, that's one of those that I kind of wish I still had, but also I'm not sad that era of my life has been erased. You look so disappointed in me right now.
Well, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, this is what we're dealing with this week.
I hate it.
Well,
My issue this week.
is 2010 M's choices in fashion. Well, that's your choice, and you can choose to stand by that, but I'm just gonna go ahead and maintain that I was right and that I looked fucking sickening.
I wasn't there, so I can't say. I would have to see the shirt.
Yeah, I'm sure there's pictures of me wearing it somewhere. I know that on my mom's Facebook page there's a picture of me, or a series of photos of me planking on various objects. I know there's one of me on like a wooden post, like belly on a wooden post, my stepdad holding up my feet so I could plank. And I think in that one, this is gonna make you cringe, I'm actually wearing those, like, you remember those 5-finger shoes? I had a pair of those.
You had toe shoes?
I had toe shoes. They were pink and neon orange. They were the ugliest things I've ever seen.
Okay.
They were real comfortable though.
How old were you?
That was 2010-ish, so I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13.
That's fine. I went to high school with a guy who, through graduation, wore toe shoes every day.
Did he wear them to graduation?
I don't know. Well, I didn't get wrong. I went to the wrong graduation.
I forgot about that. That's some tea.
But yeah, so.
Well, all right. Well, should we get started?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Abandonment Issues. It is a periodical podcast about the past, the paranormal, and the just plain perplexing. I am your host, Em, and I am here today with
Zack. The other one.
You're damn right. Zack is here. I'm here. Brownie's here somewhere. I feel very much like an NPR host with this tone I've got going on right now. I don't know why. But yeah, we are here today. We're going to tell you some stories. Hopefully you enjoy them. I don't know that we really said this last time, but last week we really covered like stories that are kind of our like our Joker origins. like what really made us get into the field of investigating
Yeah.
this
And
kind of thing.
my story today was like the first one that I really like dove into when we started batting around the idea of this podcast. So I'm really excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Roundhouse and the Hermits.
Good old Mason. A hermit after my own heart. Yeah. Well, how are you this week?
You know, I'm fine.
That wasn't very convincing. That sounded almost malicious.
No, I'm fine. So, you know, I've just been working.
Yeah.
And
Same.
existing, vibing.
Yeah.
I don't really know when this episode is going to go up, but you know, last week we were talking.
I'm so excited about this. Yes.
I mean, you already know this, but for our listeners, I got invited to participate in a season of Survivor roleplay.
I'm so happy for you. What do you? Are they like numbered seasons? Like what
Yeah.
class are you?
So I am on season. Give me 2 seconds and I will tell you.
Also, how long is a season? I have a lot of questions.
Okay, so the season that I'm currently watching now, which is the same series that I'm participating in, it's on. So I'm on season 15,
Okay.
and the season 14 ends today,
Ooh.
and they're currently on day 35 or 6. So it's like
damn.
it's
All right.
it's like a month.
Wow.
So but I'm really excited.
It's exciting. Yeah.
Shout out to my boss for roping me into this.
For giving you the Survivor bug. And to clarify, you've never seen an episode of Survivor, have you?
Not one.
Me, neither. I don't have any idea what Survivor is about.
I mean,
Well, other than,
obviously
Survivor.
now I understand the general idea. Obviously we're not out there doing challenges in real time,
okay.
but like we're doing like a subtle crossword puzzle or something. Like there's challenges every week, but it's not like
It's Survivor not so much for your triathlon runners as it is for your, like,
meme lords.
your
Yeah.
meme lords in your Discord server.
Yeah.
Creeps.
Like there's challenges and stuff, but I'm very excited.
Okay.
But yeah, so how have you been this week?
I mean, kind of the same minus the Survivor. I mean, I've just been working. I don't really know. I found out, maybe I should save this for my issue, actually.
Ooh, I still have to figure out mine, to be honest.
Yeah, if I don't, I mean, I'm just gonna say it now because I already baited this trap. I basically found out like 2 days ago that I'm gonna be a trainer at work now, and they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna give you your training to be a trainer," and then the person that was supposed to train me had to leave before I did both days. So as he was leaving, he was like, "All right, well, I'll see you on Monday, and you have a trainee." So I have to train someone on Monday when I don't even have my my trainer training. But
Nice.
I think I can handle it because, I feel like I've had jobs in the past that have tossed me into that role of,
Yeah, at least this way you're kind of getting there's a title,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're not just like, you've been here 6 months. Like follow them and figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. So I am excited about it, if nothing else, for the fact that we really need people, and I think every restaurant in the fucking States right now needs employees, but
Yeah.
we personally have been going through it because we lost a bunch of people at once for various reasons. Not like I don't want to like make light of the situation that's going on with a lot of places right now. I'm very proud to see that people are staging walkouts and strikes and potentially unionizing and that kind of thing. But that's not really the situation where I work. It's more like everybody was locked inside during the pandemic for a year and a half, and then they all decided to just go crazy and start playing sports. And so we had a multitude of sports injuries, and that it really kind of screwed us all over.
Well,
So we're getting some new people in, and hopefully I can take some time off soon because it's been buck wild. But other than that, I've just been sleeping and reading ghost stories, and I'm excited to share some of them with you today because I think you're gonna like them.
I'm excited. Yeah. Who's going first today?
I mean, I figured I would leave that up to you. I don't know how long yours is going to be. I guess it doesn't really matter. I feel like mine is much shorter than it was last week. Mm-hmm. Because last week I really just... The story of Mason Evans is one that has just been marinating in my little pea brain for God knows how long. So I really needed to get it out there in the open, and I wanted to cover as many bases as I could. And I should say that I cut out a lot. A lot. That book, it's not a particularly long book, but there's so much information in there about what's going on in this area in the early 19th century. I was just, I wrote out so much, and then I was like, I could do my own podcast, like a mini series on just this topic. So,
well, and I feel like, and not to like dwell in the past, because you know that's last week's episode, but I feel like you just mentioning that the fact that it was very dramatized, I feel like that just really adds to the whole ordeal as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like I could pick it apart, but I won't. But I won't. We're here to move on. We're living in the future, and
that's now.
Yeah. So I'm fine with... Do you want to go first?
Yeah. So, okay.
Okay.
So, like I said, when we first started, like, batting around the idea of what we wanted to do here, we took a trip to, like, a local bookstore, used bookstore, and I just kind of grabbed a couple things off the shelves. Yeah. Not really sure what we were going to do yet, but there was one story in one of these books that I found so fascinating.
So excited.
And I've told you a little bit about it here and there, and I'm curious as to how much you remember and what I've told you. So the title of the book is called Unsolved Disappearances in the Great Smoky Mountains. It's written by Juanita Baldwin and Esther Grubb. It was published, I think it was somewhere in like the mid-90s, so like copies might be a little scarce here and there. 98, so... But I've seen it on like thrift books and stuff.
Okay.
But anyway, so it's the first story in this book. Super cool. I really love how the two authors kind of like line everything out for you because they do bounce around a bit, but it gives you time to kind of bounce back and forth between the topics and what's going on. This is the first story in there. If you can get a copy of this book, by all means go for it because there are some really interesting stories in here.
How many cases does it cover?
So there's 3, 4, 5, 7. Okay. 7 different ones. So
it's kind of a small book. I'm a little surprised that it has that much in it. That's really cool.
And it goes pretty in deep. For the first 3 are just like this, you know, they just disappeared. The second one, like the second part, so there's 2 stories in there about these people disappeared, but there's like no reason why. It's like very puzzling. And then the last one is like deliberate disappearances.
Ooh.
So
like kidnappings and
assault?
Like oh wow,
kidnapping. Okay. Well, there's one was murdered.
Oh damn.
And the other was a bombing suspect.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah, but
I might have to borrow that.
You're more than welcome.
Now that your research is done, are you gonna leave it here?
Yeah.
Fuck yes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So a little bit about the authors really quick. So Juanita Baldwin is a psychologist and a writer, and Esther Grubb is a professional photographer and writer. I'm not really sure what they're doing now because, like I said, this book was published in the 90s. And while I was digging into this story, a lot of the sources use this as a source. So
interesting.
Which is crazy to me because once we get into it, it's kind of like it was like a nationwide thing. Yeah. For a minute. So to me, it's like very shocking that a lot of this, like all the sources out there, come back to this book. And that's mainly why I used it as my main source today because the trail leads back here. So, without further ado, I guess, after that long-winded introduction. Okay, so today I'm going to be covering the disappearance of Thelma Melton. All right, so Thelma Pauline Melton, known by friends and family as Polly. I'm going to refer to her from now on as Polly. Yeah. Just because it's a nickname. Yeah. But also, she has a friend named Pauline who also has a nickname, so I don't want to get the two confused. Okay. Yeah. So Polly went missing on September 25th, 1981. She was staying on a campsite that was leased out by her and her husband, Robert Melton, as well as 10 other families.
10?
Yeah, 10.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So pretty much they would lease it out every single year, and they would go and they would park their trailers there, and it was just a group of 10 families that were semi-close friends, and they would just park their campers there during the summer, and then during the winter they'd go wherever was warmer.
That sounds pretty lit, actually.
Yeah.
God, I want to go camping so
Especially
badly.
so
badly.
That, I want to go camping, I want to go to the beach.
Yeah.
God. I was at the beach 4 years ago today.
Yeah. I can't remember the last time I went. Damn. I just want to be in a body of water. Anyway.
Well, speaking of water, the campsite and the trail where Polly disappeared at is known as Deep Creek.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah. It's located in the Great Smoky Mountains. It's specifically on the North Carolina side. So, for us...
I wonder if I've, like, driven by there at some point or something.
Well, so it's pretty much like Gatlinburg and Townsend are here. It's on the North Carolina side. Okay. So it's like the complete opposite of Townsend and Gatlinburg.
I see. Okay.
So her disappearance, is something of a puzzler specifically because of the nature of the disappearance itself. So I'm going to give you a little overview of the location.
Let's go.
So Deep Creek is a campground and hiking trail in the Smoky Mountains. This is as of like 2021. I went on the website.
Nice.
And the public campgrounds are about $25 a night and offer traditional camping as well as RV hookups. This area also offers horseback riding, and given its name, there are places to swim and tube. At the time of Polly's disappearance, there is said to have been about 50 or so cars in the parking lot of the public campground.
Okay.
The grounds where Melton and the other families stayed was a private area close to the campground and was probably about 1.5 miles outside the park.
Okay.
So they're kind of distanced from the public eye.
Mm-hmm.
The trailhead of Deep Creek, however, started close to the private site where the Meltons were staying. So the trail itself was about 2 miles long round trip, so 2 miles up, 2 miles back.
Okay.
The trail ends about 1.75 miles inside the park, meaning so that like 1/4 mile laid outside the park itself in that private area.
Okay.
Where the Meltons were staying. This is considered to be a pretty manageable hike, so it's not hard. It's also important to note that cars were permitted on the trail up to a certain point.
Okay.
The trail forks about 1/4 mile inside the park, at which point there's a gate to block off any cars. Mm-hmm. And from that point forward, both sides of the trail are covered in thick trees, plants, and foliage.
Okay. You say foliage. I'm not trying to make fun of you for that. I just think that's
I literally was like driving here today and was like, say foliage, say foliage. Okay. So, the day of the disappearance, Polly and her 2 friends, Trula Gudger and Pauline Cannon, nickname is Red.
Trula Gudger?
Mm-hmm.
That's a name right there. I like that.
So, they were all, like, pretty good friends, and they were a part of that 10-family group that leased the private campsite that they were all staying at. On days when the weather was nice, Polly, Trula, and Red would go on an afternoon hike around 3 in the afternoon. The weather that day was very nice, with some overcast clouds and the temperature sitting in around the mid-80s. The ladies started their hike, and at about 4 p.m., the women reached the end of the trail, often referred to as the roundabout by locals, and they stopped for a rest. They waited for Polly to have a cigarette and then resumed their hike. About 1/2 mile in, though, Polly decided to pick up the pace without explanation, and she left her friends behind. Before the trail reached the top of the hill, Red shouted to her, saying, "I wouldn't want to be in a foot race with you, Polly." Polly then turned around, gave her friends a grin, and then disappeared over the hill. Okay. Trula and Red found this extremely odd behavior, but didn't try to keep up with Polly or match her pace. Instead, they exchanged a couple remarks about her behavior, but ultimately decided that they would just see Polly back at the campground, or that given the fact that she was a smoker, they would eventually catch up to Polly when she tired out.
Maybe she just had to pee. She
Maybe.
wanted to hurry.
They knew she had a fear of snakes, so they knew she wouldn't ever try to get off the trail, and that she would head straight for the campsite. The conversation the ladies had that day was no different than any normal conversation, other than 2 specific topics.
Okay.
Red and Trula gossiped about a man who had a camper nearby the group. His name was Wilburn Sarute, and apparently he had a habit of sleeping around with other women. Mm-hmm. But the ladies joked that apparently he had been taking a break, because he had been sticking around the camper that he and his wife stayed at. The other thing was, they mentioned a handsome man that had been giving Polly eyes at the Bryson City Presbyterian Nutrition Center, where Polly did volunteer work feeding the elderly. Oh. Red and Trula had a good laugh about this, but Polly never denied it and never seemed to show any kind of emotion about it whatsoever, as if someone was watching her and she didn't want to slip up and say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So, Red and Trula reached the campground around 4:30. They figured they would head to the Melton's trailer just to double check on Polly to make sure that everything was okay on the off chance that they overstepped their boundaries or stepped on her toes.
Yeah.
However, when they got to the trailer, they discovered that only Polly's husband, Robert, was home. They informed Robert about what had happened, and they quickly set off to search around the immediate campsite to see if she was there. Red got her husband, Jack, and Trula went to one of the other campers' trailers. This one's name was Avis Love.
Everyone in this has really good names.
I know. And the four of them searched the private campground as well as the public campsite of Deep Creek nearby, and there was no sign of Polly. They hiked back up the trail to see if they could find her, and Ranger Burnett, who's a park ranger there, radioed the other rangers around the area to ask about Polly, and most of which knew the Meltons and the other families because of how often they would see each other.
Yeah.
They were pretty much living in the Great Smoky Mountains, so they saw them pretty much every single day.
Yeah.
And no one had seen or heard from her since her random disappearance around 4. At 6 o'clock, Avis Love filed an official report with Ranger Burnett that Polly Melton was indeed missing.
Oh, wow.
So now I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of Polly Melton and her life.
Okay.
As of 2021, Polly Melton would be 98 years old.
Okay.
She was 58 when she went missing in 1981. I feel like I mentioned this to you like maybe a week or so ago, but I've been looking into this probably since December?
Easily, yeah.
And I can't find any sort of obituary for her full name, Polly Melton. I can't find any sort of obituary.
Yeah.
Which leads me to believe that A, there was just never an obituary put out there, or B, if she did pass away, it might have been before obituaries were published on the internet.
That's true too.
So,
well, here's a thought that I had, and I think that maybe this will come into play later after you go over the theories. But say she didn't get taken, say she just left, and say she did survive. If she changed her name, we'd never know.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's that too. And don't you have to like declare someone dead like officially to have an obituary? Or, well, I guess not an obituary. I was thinking of more like a death certificate. But if you don't have any confirmation that a person is dead, can you declare them as such after a certain amount of time?
I don't know.
I think you can, and I'm basing this solely off of one of the most trashy pieces of media I can. I'm pretty sure Carol Baskin did that for her husband. Like, he was missing for a certain amount of time, and in Tiger King they talk about how she declared him dead, like, the day it was possible to do so. I don't know what that entails, but I do think that's curious. I don't know what they would have done. Like, what would her family have done?
I don't know. Well,
anyway, we'll find out more.
We'll continue.
That. Sorry.
No, you're good. So, an overview, just general information that was reported when she disappeared. She was 58, female, Caucasian. She was around 5'10". She was between 170 to 180 pounds. Shoulder-length auburn hair, brown eyes. She was wearing glasses with heavy dark brown frames. Her physical conditions, she suffered from high blood pressure and nausea, and she took medication for both ailments. When she disappeared, she was wearing a white and pink striped sleeveless blouse with tan polyester shorts. She was wearing tan, low-cut, size 8.5 wide crepe soles that would have left a distinct footprint due to the crack on the sole on the left shoe on the ball of the foot.
Okay.
And her personal items that they know that she had on her at the time of her disappearance was a pack of Virginia Slims, a diamond-studded white gold wristwatch, and her wedding band.
Okay.
So Polly and her husband lived a very normal and honestly routine life. Their home was their Airstream trailer. They rented spots to live in and park their home. They stayed at Deep Creek during the warmer months and would return to where they were from in Jacksonville, Florida during winter.
Okay.
They had a small shed there too where they kept personal belongings that didn't fit inside the trailer. Polly volunteered once a week at the Bryson City Presbyterian Nutritional Center, feeding the elderly, and this happened without fail every single week. Mm-hmm. Polly had no kids. Robert had 2 sons from her previous marriage. When they were notified about the disappearance of Polly, their only concern was how it impacted their father, so it seems as if they were kind of keeping her at a distance.
Yeah.
This was Polly's 3rd marriage.
Okay.
So, again, Polly suffered from high blood pressure and nausea, both of which she was medicated for. She also suffered from depression. She became very close with her father after her mother passed away in 1978. It had bothered her for the years up to this point, off and on mostly, but she was prescribed Valium to help.
Okay.
Again, Polly had no kids. Her family consisted of her husband, Robert, her father, Fred McAllister. She had a younger sister named Kit, and she had 4 other brothers.
Oh, wow. That's a big family.
Yeah. The book never mentioned their names, but each one of them was notified about Polly's disappearance, and none of them had any notion that she would just up and leave. The consensus among the family was that if Polly wanted to leave because she was unhappy with her marriage or otherwise, she would have simply said so, because this is what she had done in her previous 2 marriages.
Right.
However, with literally no information about where she was and no leads or physical sign of Polly, a search was then conducted. Ranger Burnett closed Deep Creek to the public following Melton's disappearance. A little side note that I thought was very interesting.
Okay.
This is one of the very, very, very few cases of disappearances in the Smoky Mountains where psychics were not called to assist with it.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, hold up. Is that a big thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like in this region in particular, or like just overall?
I don't know, but I don't know about if it's like a regional thing or if it's an everywhere thing, but I've definitely heard of like psychics reaching out and being like, let me help.
I've never thought of that.
Yeah. But this is one of the very few cases where psychics did not reach out and no one reached out to them. Yeah.
Wow. Huh.
A group of around 25 people joined and began searching for her. Any person who came off of the trail was questioned, and no one had seen anything suspicious or out of the ordinary, and more importantly, no one had seen any sign of Polly at all. Word spread around the area, and the search party grew, and as night fell, the search continued. Mm-hmm. They searched the trail thoroughly and looked within Deep Creek itself, shining lights in to see if anybody had fallen inside. Before midnight, the stress of the situation got to Robert Melton, and he was admitted to Swain County Hospital. Polly's father and 2 of her brothers arrived on the scene around 9 p.m. On the way to the site, they talked amongst themselves, and they couldn't think of any place that she could have went or any motivation she would have had to have left. They seemed to think that she was forced away from the camp against her will, but I'll get into that a little later.
Okay.
The night of September 25th, 1981 was clear and dry. The temperature was in the 50s. There had been no rain in over a week. If Polly was out in the woods, she would have been comfortable in the clothes that she was wearing, so exposure wasn't really a concern.
Yeah.
If she was alone, or just lost and turned around, the only thing that was a danger to her was her underlying medical conditions.
Yeah, because she wouldn't have had her medication with her, would she?
No. If she were to suffer any sort of complication from her high blood pressure, she would have been in serious trouble, and that would have been a really obvious concern. Mm-hmm. The local media covered the story very quickly and seriously. It was broadcasted and asked that anyone with news about her disappearance should call the park ranger station and help in any way they could. Within 24 hours, it became a nationwide story, and most major press outlets relied on the Park Service's press releases to update people on the story. The family provided photos of Polly and the information that I read about her earlier. The search for Polly Melton was one of the shortest searches to ever be made in the Great Smoky Mountains. Oh. It began around roughly at 7 p.m. on Friday, September 25th, 1981, and ended on October 2nd. It was exactly a week.
Huh.
During the search, around 150 individuals, 9 dogs and their handlers, 6 friends, and 3 immediate family members of Polly Melton searched for her. Only 1 dog, named Missy, picked up a scent. Mm-hmm. The dog kept returning to a fallen tree beside the Deep Creek Trail. Many people use this as like a makeshift bench.
Yeah.
So it was assumed that Polly had stopped here to rest, but the dog could not follow her scent any further than that. The dry weather was said to have made it harder for the dogs to pick up or follow on anything other than the one that Missy picked up. The trail ended there.
Wow.
The trail reopened to the public on the 29th, and everyone was asked to keep an eye out for Polly. Her disappearance was entered into the National Criminal Information Center computer the next day. She went missing on the 26th, and then on the 2nd of October, officials of the Great Smoky Mountain National Park released a press statement stating that the evidence led to the conclusion that Polly Melton had left the park under her own free will.
Okay. Being
in the middle of such a populated area, any sort of disturbances like a forced kidnapping would have been very noticeable.
True.
Any sort of suspicious behavior would have been reported, and it was also stated that if Polly were still in the park, dead or alive, the dogs would have picked up her scent.
Yeah.
There was no motive or evidence found of foul play.
Yeah.
And that was that.
Wow.
So after the search ended, Polly's youngest sister, Kit, reached out to the Swain County Police Department, the North Carolina Bureau of Investigation, and the FBI to pick up this investigation. But both parties pretty much said that it was outside of their jurisdiction because it happened inside the park. But any leads that were brought in concerning the case would be passed on to the proper authorities, which again, in this case, would have been the park rangers of the Smoky Mountain National Park. Polly's husband, Robert, was soon released from the Swain County Hospital, and he returned to Florida shortly thereafter. And then a year later, with the help of his sons, he sold the Airstream trailer and the station wagon, severing all ties he had with his previous life.
Oh, that's so sad.
Shortly after the trip, he was admitted into a nursing home in Gainesville, Florida, because his heart trouble and emphysema was getting a bit too much to handle on his own.
Zach, you're going to make me cry.
Again, though, it seems that his sons didn't really care for Polly too much because they never gave a statement to any public media outlets about the disappearance of Polly.
Yeah.
In December of that same year, a friend of Polly's sister, Kit, sent a petition with 200 signatures, to the governor of North Carolina, James Hunt, at the time, asking for his help.
Yeah.
2 years later, in November of 1983, Governor Hunt announced that a reward of $5,000 would be given to anyone who could provide any information regarding Polly's disappearance.
Nice.
And as of when this book was published, no one has ever inquired on it.
Wow.
Also, Kit's congressman, James Martin, wrote a letter to the Department of Interior, which is essentially just like the park services.
Yeah.
He wrote a letter to them on her behalf. The response he got on February 5th, 1982, stated that the case was still open and that every lead that came in was checked out, but nothing ever came of any of them, and that they would continue to search every lead that was submitted. Okay. Now, lastly, in March of 1982, a helicopter flown by the National Guard was flown over the Deep Creek drainage area. They waited this long because, like I said earlier, the trail and area itself was heavy in foliage. And it would have been impossible to have seen any sort of body or anything like that from the air in September. The day they did this on had high visibility, low wind, and the trees were bare. So they would have been able to spot anything out of the ordinary, but nothing was found.
Wow. So she's just gone.
So what happened to Polly Melton? That's the big question here. So I have 1, 2, 3 theories.
Okay. I'm so excited for these.
What do you think happened?
See, I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to say because, if her friends that she was walking with that day, you said that they had thought, maybe we said something and overstepped our bounds and hurt her feelings. Maybe if that was the case, she just left. Maybe I don't know. I don't want to believe that she would just pick up and leave and not tell any of her friends where she was going, but I feel like that is my gut instinct, is that maybe she just wanted to disappear.
Okay.
If something had happened and someone had tried to take her, there would have been more signs of that, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And, if she'd been married 3 previous times, maybe she wanted to get divorced again, didn't really know how to go about it, and just bailed. But I don't know. I'm very excited to hear these theories.
Well, okay, so there's 3 theories. I'm going to go in order of least likely to most likely.
Okay.
So the third one's going to be what I think surefire happened. So the first one is that she passed away while she was out in the woods.
Okay.
Okay. So again, Polly had health problems.
Mm-hmm.
She suffered from high blood pressure, nausea, and depression. When Polly disappeared, she didn't have any medication for the first 2 medical problems.
Okay.
Now, I purposely withheld some information from you here.
Oh, okay.
So, an interview that took place with Tom Harris. He is the pastor of Victory Baptist Church, where Polly and her husband went from time to time. After Polly's disappearance, he revealed that he had talked to Robert.
Okay.
It was revealed that a bottle of Valium was missing from the Airstream trailer.
So she took it.
So she took the Valium.
Interesting. Well, wait. Can we confirm that she took it?
Well, Robert didn't know where it was.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not saying like he took it, but maybe like would someone else have had access to their trailer? And
I mean, I don't know.
This is just nitpicky, but
right. No, I mean, well, because like Robert was there whenever they got back from their hike, so no one would have been inside the trailer.
Had to take it.
Right.
Okay.
Tom also said that after the passing of her mother, they had a conversation. And this happened probably 3 years prior to her going missing, by the way.
Okay.
In this conversation, the pastor tried to comfort her and tell her that she'd see her mom in heaven, and Polly said that she wanted to go there and be with her mom. Polly suffered from depression, like I said, and the Valium was missing. It's possible that she wandered off and...
I guess so, yeah.
Oh, another possibility is that she passed away due to complications due to her high blood pressure. Both of these probably didn't happen, though.
Okay.
She couldn't have gotten that far away from the campsite on foot, and if she had died anywhere near the park, her body would have been found by the search dogs.
Right.
So, that one doesn't really go that far. Number 2. She was kidnapped or forced to leave the area. Jim Postel's, Polly's brother-in-law, his first thought was that Polly had been the victim of foul play.
Yeah.
He told Ranger Burnett that he knew of an area nearby called Poke Patch. It was a popular place for drug users to hang around. He was convinced that someone or a group of people from Poke Patch would have wandered in that direction and would have been tempted to mug an elderly old lady for her belongings. Polly, at the time of her disappearance, was wearing a white gold wristwatch and her wedding band. Jim was concerned that a drug addict would have seen these expensive items and tried to take them from her because she was an older lady. This idea doesn't go that far, though. Poke Patch was approximately 4 miles away from where Polly and her husband were staying.
Yeah.
The possibility of someone with ill intent wandering that far away through the woods is very, very low.
And then they would have to, get her away from there.
Right. And if they simply wanted to mug someone for their valuables, then a watch and a ring would be missing and not Polly.
Yeah.
Also, if these hypothetical people wanted to get Polly out of the area, it would have been an entire ordeal. Yeah. They would have had to force her to walk, which a woman with her condition wouldn't have made it very far without some sort of help. They would have had to carry her, but carrying a 180 to 200 pound person through the woods on a hiking trail is no easy feat. There's no real reason why anyone would want to go through all that trouble for a watch and a band.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if she was still in the park or she was carried out of there, there would have been a body and a scent. And like I stated before, there was no scent. So number 3, Polly just left and started a new life. This is the most believable idea and yields the most evidence of all of these theories. So, of course, obviously, when someone goes missing, their personal life and their habits are put under a microscope.
Yeah.
So Polly wasn't a member there, but again, she did attend Victory Baptist Church near Deep Creek pretty regularly. When the park rangers approached the pastor of the church, Tom Harris, a couple days later, a few key things came up. First of all, it was the conversation that she had previously with him about wanting to go to heaven and be with her mom and all that stuff. That uncovered the truth that Robert revealed that the Valium was missing from the trailer. Robert noticed it was gone after he had discovered Polly was missing. So it stands to reason that if she needed it, and for sure knew that she needed it and was leaving, she would have taken it.
Right.
Pastor Harris also said that one conversation she had with Polly would have been important. Polly was seeking comfort, not only from the fact that her mother had passed, like I mentioned, but she also talked about people who were cheating on their spouses. She said that she would never do such a thing, but Pastor Harris believes this was her way of trying to lead him into saying that if someone were to do this, that they could still make it into heaven. This is all the information that Pastor Harris would reveal for the investigation.
So, was she implying that she had done this, or that her husband had done this?
I feel as if, I guess we'll really never know.
Right.
Because, if Robert was cheating on her, we would never find out because Robert wouldn't say anything. Why would he? I don't feel like he would have that kind of ill reaction if he knew he was doing something wrong. And his kids aren't going to talk because they don't care about Polly. Sure. So who cares, But I definitely feel as if, I don't know if she was cheating or not. I'll keep going here in a second.
It kind of seems that way.
But it kind of seems that way.
Okay.
So, and like I said, it feels like she was kind of leading him into that. But on October 6th, 1981, 4 days after the search for Polly was called off by park officials, the supervisor of the Bryson City Presbyterian Nutrition Center, God, that's a mouthful, a woman named Nell Rickman provided new information to authorities. Since she had been out of town at the time of Polly's disappearance. Like, she wasn't here for all this.
Yeah.
So...
Can you imagine coming back and finding out that something like this happened?
I'd be like, I go out of town for 5 days.
I left for, like, a week, and this is what happened?
Yeah. So, according to Nell, Polly was a very faithful volunteer and seemed to really enjoy the work she did at the church. She would work pretty regularly and would work between 30-minute and 1-hour increments every time she worked. The way it worked there was when you were done working for the day, you signed up for the next time you intended to work again.
Yeah.
Polly had worked the day before her disappearance on Thursday, September 24th, but did not sign up for Friday. Polly normally gave a reason when she couldn't make it to a shift, but this time she didn't give one, and that was very odd for her not to work a Friday shift. Another weird thing that Polly had done on the last day she volunteered was that she stepped away multiple times and asked to use the church's telephone. And all of the years that she had worked there, she had never once used the phone.
This is juicy.
Right? They looked into it, and there were no long distance calls charged to the phone bill or whatever. They weren't able to determine what numbers Polly had called, and no friends or family recall getting a call from Polly on that day, and Miss Rickman did not overhear the conversations.
Wow.
After Polly disappeared, investigators checked her bank account at Atlantic Bank in Jacksonville, Florida, where they were from. And the last transaction that happened was on September 15th, and it wasn't anything extraordinary, and this was before she had disappeared by like 6 days.
Okay.
So it was like whatever. However, on April 14th, 1982, 6 months after she went missing, a check was made payable to Pauline Melton, drawn off the Birmingham Trust National Bank, and it was cashed. The signature on the endorsement of the check appeared to be Polly's. When the National Park officials learned of this check, they looked more into the matter with the bank in the hopes that Polly was alive and well, or maybe to see if someone was using Polly's name for some sort of identity theft ordeal. The bank teller who cashed the check could not remember anything about her, really, and hiring a handwriting expert wasn't really in the cards to determine if this was in fact Polly, considering this was the only time it had happened, and there was nothing going on with the case at this point.
Yeah.
This is the last known possible interaction with Pauline Melton that exists.
Wow.
The authors of the book reached out to Avis Love, who was the woman who initially reached out to the park rangers and officially filed the missing persons report.
Yeah.
In the mid-90s, she was still living at Deep Creek in her trailer.
Avis was?
Avis was.
Okay.
She said that she had never heard from Polly again. Wow. Since that day, and she had heard rumors over the years, but there was never any stake in any of them. So, she's just gone.
Wow.
Yeah. That's all I have, but, I'm interested to hear what you think now that you have all the information.
So, my mind keeps going back to the fact that you said that cars could go up the trail a certain distance. I feel like if she was walking ahead of her friends, she disappeared over the hill, maybe she, like, I know they said that she wouldn't really get off the trail, but, like, if she needed to, maybe she, like, hid, kind of cut a little off the path, met somebody down the trail, hopped in the car, and left.
Right.
In any case, I do think that, it seems very much to me like she wanted to be gone, so she went.
Yeah, same.
That's crazy.
And I mean, obviously, I don't know. I don't know if there were any problems within the relationship that Pauline and Robert had. But it's like her family member said, I feel like if she wanted to leave, she would have. But I mean, after 3 marriages, I don't know. It's such a weird subject.
And I mean, you never know what another person is thinking.
Exactly.
You never know what you would do until you're in that situation. Anything's possible.
Yeah, 100%.
And maybe maybe it wasn't even planned. I think maybe there was some degree of planning to it, but maybe she hadn't been planning it for very long. Maybe just like something had happened and she was just like, you know what, this is the last straw. I'm going to work. I'm going to my last shift. I'm not coming back.
Yeah, well,
I wonder about that that handsome person they said was making eyes at her. Where was that? Was that at work?
Yeah, that was at the nutrition center. So
maybe she met her a new boy.
Maybe. And
she just got tired of men and left.
Maybe. I definitely feel like what you kind of said happened. Like she probably just hiked ahead, hopped in someone's car, never looked back.
Wow. Well,
but yeah,
Polly,
if you're listening,
I know you're like
turning them hearing aids up.
You'd be 100 by now, but I hope you had a good life.
Yeah. Was it worth it?
Yeah.
Email us. Yes,
reach out, Miss Pauline.
We would love to have you.
we really would. I would absolutely die.
You have no idea. I've been looking into this for so long.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy not knowing what happened to this woman. So
maybe someday we'll know.
If anyone listening knows.
Yeah.
Please let me know. I need closure.
Yeah. I got my refund from Subway.
Hell yeah. Subway betrayed us today.
No, don't talk about it because that's my issue, actually. I'm claiming that. I'm claiming that.
Valid. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm very excited to tell you my story today because
I'm so excited.
I honestly, this past week really flew by. I feel like I was busy every second of every day of this week. So until last night when I worked yesterday morning until I got home last night, I didn't know what I was going to cover. So when I texted you and I was like, hey, are we recording tomorrow? I genuinely didn't know what I was doing yet.
Valid. Well, you texted me and I was like, it's Saturday. Yeah. Which means tomorrow is Sunday.
Uh-huh. Sunday.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, we're good. I totally knew that it was happening.
Yeah. I had just completely forgotten. But I came up with an idea pretty quickly because this is something that is very near and dear to my heart. This is yet another one that I feel like goes on my list of stories. Well, this is more of a compilation of several stories, but they all revolve around a certain place. And I feel like it's something that is, again, another thing that has really just fueled my love and my passion for old abandoned buildings, the paranormal, everything we aspire to discuss and educate the public about. So, today I'm going to talk to you about the various ghosts that you might see if you are a resident or a student at ETSU.
Oh, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
So, for some context, I actually went to ETSU. That's where I went to college. I loved it. I was not prepared for two things when I decided to go to school there. Number one, the first thing that someone said to me when I said that I got accepted was, oh, damn, that's a party school. And I was just like, oh, no. I don't know if I'm ready for that. But then I got there, and one of the first things I learned when I started living there is that it is haunted as hell.
I love it.
And I had no idea. So yeah, that is what I'm here to talk to you about today. And there's so many buildings on campus that have ghosts. So I'm just going to jump right in. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Go for it.
First of all, I do want to say, in regards to these stories, a lot of these stories of these ghosts have to do with suicides. I'm not going to go into detail. I think there's one where I discuss like the actual method, but I'm not going to go into detail. If that makes you uncomfortable, feel free to skip my story. I won't be offended. I understand. But that is a thing, so I just wanted to warn you up at the top. Let's get into it. ETSU, or East Tennessee State University, is located in Johnson City, Tennessee. It was founded in 1911, and initially it was a school specifically for the training of teachers. It's had a couple different names throughout its life. I think initially it was called the East Tennessee Normal College. It might have just been Normal School. But after that, it was the East Tennessee Teachers College. The first class of students at ETSU consisted of only 29 students, which is buck wild to me because, yes, it was 1911. But today, the total enrollment of students at the school is over 11,000. And I can attest to that as someone who has tried to find parking in that garage. Holy shit. According to College Raptor, ETSU ranks 8th in 13 most haunted campuses in the United States. We're going to start with Gilbreth Hall, because that is the first ghost that I heard about being on this campus was at Gilbreth Hall. So Gilbreth Hall is named after the founder of the college and the former president from 1911. His name was Sidney Gilbreth. It is a lecture hall that, if I remember correctly, houses a lot of the psychology department, Could be wrong on that, though. From what I know about him, he was kind of known to be an ornery son of a bitch, and he didn't really like women very much.
Great.
This is just a little snippet. I said, yes, I am aware that it is the early 20th century, but there are many reports of sexism and misogynistic abuse towards women, including female students from this man. This is one of the more mild cases, but just to give you a taste, on December 4th, 1912, Gilbreth declared, no young woman student in the normal school will be permitted to dine at a public hotel with an escort and without a chaperone. No young woman student will be permitted to attend any public dance. Yeah. And I remember reading some stuff about how, like, they weren't allowed to go home without, like, signed written permission from their parents or something. Fully grown adult women going to college. And yes, again, it was, like, 1912. But still, he made all of these rules. I remember reading some of them. I'd have to look them up.
I don't like the guy. Is he a ghost?
Yes, he's a ghost. Yeah.
I'm about to call the Ghostbusters.
Bill Murray, please, can you come up here and nerf Sidney Gilbreth?
What's that one? Melissa McCarthy? Is she in the new one?
Yes. Yes, she is. Yeah.
Okay, I'm calling her. You call Bill Murray. I'll get Melissa.
Oh, I love Bill Murray. Technically, he's in the new one, too. To anybody that didn't like the 2016 Ghostbusters, I just want to say, grow up.
The feminists are taking over.
I'm an adult virgin. Yeah, but no, just like, have some fun. Unclench thine asshole. Watch a movie with Kristen Wiig in it. That's all I'm saying, okay? Leslie Jones is funny as hell.
Let it loose.
Kristen Wiig in that movie is excellent. What is her name? Kate McKinnon. Kate McKinnon in the new Ghostbusters, there is this scene where she's like dancing with blowtorches. It's so fucking funny. I paid my hard-earned money to see that movie in theaters, and I do not regret it.
I haven't seen it.
Well, you should, because it's a good time. I'm not saying it's the best movie ever made. I'm just saying, if you're like still to this day adamant saying that Ghostbusters the OG is like a masterpiece, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that, like, you should loosen up a little bit and have some fun.
I personally like the sequel better.
The original Ghostbusters too?
Yeah.
It is a good movie, yeah.
But that over the first. But I haven't seen the new one, so I will have to do that.
We should watch that together, because it's a good time.
Okay.
There's a really fun scene where they're at like a metal show, and there's like a ghost that everybody thinks is like special effects. It's a good movie.
Okay,
anyway,
we'll watch it.
Totally not the point, but... So yes, Sidney Gilbreth does still haunt Gilbreth Hall. Apparently his ghost watches over the place. He closes doors and windows left open by mistake, and he turns off unnecessary lights. It's believed that his spirit resides on the very top floor of the building, which you can't get to. The only way to access the top floor is through a janitor's closet on the floor below. So it is at this point that I want to talk about one of my favorite sources for the day. I showed this to you very briefly before we started. Basically, I found this website that was just this guy's, not really a blog, like he made a full website dedicated to it, and I don't think it's been touched since like 2008. He is a former student of ETSU, and his username was jboy74.
Jay!
Yes, and he just, like, he asked his friends for their stories and then put them on his website, and the ETSU section is not the only thing that he has. Like, he has a bunch of stuff for, like, various other states that people have sent to him. I had a really great time reading his stories about ETSU, so I'm going to include some of them in here. This is a story from jboy74, and he says, "Here is another story about Gilbreth. Thanks, Tina." And Tina said, "My roommate was in the computer lab one night typing something out for her UIT class when all of the computers started turning on by themselves. The lab instructor said it could be A, a power failure, B, a power surge, or C, the ghost. Right when he told her that, she got a cold chill, like something cold walked by. She hasn't gone back." That in particular made me laugh, because how the hell are you going to get through college without going to the computer lab?
Truly.
In the 2000s? There's no way. I practically lived in the computer lab in the library.
Yeah.
Jay's note. I talked to a janitor in Gilbreth, and she admitted to the strange happenings. She said that he seems to be more active before a storm. So that's interesting, because I read this, one of my other sources was an article from the East Tennessean, which is the student newspaper at ETSU, and they said, according to Paranormal Technology Investigations TNs, Tennessee, PTITN, their website, quote, Uncle Sid becomes more active during approaching thunderstorms by making sure all the windows are closed and doors are shut tightly. So that's considerate of him.
No, I like that.
Yeah. There seem to have been many reports from students that hear a man's voice telling them to get to class.
Oh my god, if I was haunted by like a mean teacher.
I know. Oh my. Ugh, it's miserable. Like, what do you do to make him stop? Bring him an apple? I don't think Sid would have been much into that. He seemed like...
Do your homework on time.
Yeah, I guess so. Although Uncle Sid passed away in January of 1961, it seems like he has never left the school. And I attended from 2015 to 2019. I definitely heard people talking about seeing weird stuff in that building. I never saw anything myself, but I definitely remember being in there. I think I had orientation in that building. Like, they do, ETSU does what they call preview, and if you sign up for it, you get to go like a weekend early before everybody starts moving in, and they have like your standard, like, really summer campy icebreaker kind of things where you're meeting people and making connections. And I roll my eyes at it a little bit, but I met my best friend there, so that makes me really happy. I actually met Grace for the first time in this building, where she had on a sweatshirt that said who needs gender roles when you can have pizza rolls? And it had little pizza rolls all over it, and I saw her and across the room, and I was just like, I need this person to be my friend. So, yeah, that's just a fun little anecdote from this building.
Grace.
Yeah. Friend of the podcast,
Beautiful.
Grace. I love her so much. So yeah, moving on, we're going to Burleson. Now this one is actually, how I never heard this story, I have no idea, because this is a cool one. Burleson Hall also inherited its own ghost story during the 1960s. Professor Christina Burleson, who taught Shakespeare, is said to haunt this building. Basically, she was an English teacher, and her specific focus was on Shakespearean works. She was... What? What?
I was just gonna say that she took Macbeth really seriously.
Oh my god. You know, it's funny because in an article I was reading, they made a joke about Hamlet, and I was like, oh my god, okay, you know, a woman is dead. Can you just... So, this is one of those stories, this is probably the most grim, honestly, as far as deaths go, because apparently Burleson contracted a chronic debilitating illness in the latter part of her life. Some of the sources that I read implied that it was a genetic illness, but I couldn't really find any confirmation of what it was. From the way it was described, it seemed to be something like maybe ALS or Parkinson's that affects your motor function. She ended up in a wheelchair for the rest of her life, and I don't know if this is true. It seems kind of iffy. According to the East Tennessean article, though, they said because she felt like a burden to her family, she committed suicide. Yes. I don't know if that's true. It may have been for any number of reasons, but that is how she passed away. She shot herself twice. And reportedly, she was very depressed about the decline in her health. So, make of that what you will. She passed away, though, and the East Tennessean went on to say this about her. A rather calm ghost, she is said to be seen following students or just watching them. And that portrait of David Sinclair Burleson that hangs in the hallways, those who knew him say that those aren't his eyes, but his daughter Christine's eyes. The legend states that those eyes will follow you as you walk by.
Ooh, boopy.
I think that that's honestly kind of a really cool ghost. Oh, yeah. In 2011, when ETSU was celebrating its centennial, an English professor named Dr. Robert Sawyer held an event discussing the events of Professor Burleson's life and death. It was called Rest, Perturbed Spirit, and was held on Tuesday, March 29th in ETSU's D.P. Culp University Center ballroom from 7 to 8 p.m., with a reception that followed in the East Tennessee room. Sidebar here, this is just going to be the M Talks About Their College Experiences part, because this is something that I did not even think about when I was writing these notes, but it just came to mind. When I was in college, I went to the LGBT club, I guess you'd call it. And every year we would do this thing called goth prom. I think I've mentioned this to you before. But we would do goth prom, and basically this organization would have local drag queens come in, and they would put on a drag show, and they would cater it, and everybody would dress up in costumes. It was always right around Halloween, so it was really fun. But basically what I'm trying to say is, in this same room that they had this seminar about Christina Burleson's life, we had goth prom. And I was just eating a crab cake, watching a drag queen dump fake blood all over, like, a rubber torso that she was using for a skit. So yeah, there's a myriad of different hauntings going on in this building.
Truly. Ooky spooky.
Yeah, so sorry to go off on that tangent, but I just remembered that. That was a wild time. I miss the Culp. That was the place to be. Are you reeling from that revelation? I'm sorry.
I'm shook.
Oh, yeah, so moving right along. The research and resulting paper by Sawyer were funded by a grant from the ETSU Centennial Committee. Quote, "It would come as no surprise that as a scholar of Shakespeare at East Tennessee State University, Dr. Robert Sawyer would be drawn to the story of Christine Burleson's life with its classic Shakespearean markers, unrequited love, ghostly haunting, and suicide." However, Sawyer did not set out to draw parallels between Burleson's life and a Shakespearean tragedy, but to dispel them. "I guess you could say I am ghost busting," Sawyer said. When you said call the Ghostbusters earlier, I was like, it's coming.
The circle. It is full now.
Yes. "One of my goals from the start was to find out where the whole haunting thing started. Burleson, as I said, taught English. She was one of the most respected professors ever at ETSU. She began teaching there at the university in 1925 and taught right up until her death in 1967. She was the first woman ever chosen to receive the ETSU Distinguished Faculty Award, only a year after the award was even established.
Wow.
Burleson Hall is not named for her, but for her father, David Sinclair Burleson, a former dean of the ETSU faculty from the school's earliest years. Sawyer believes, basically, that the haunting of Burleson Hall is a legend. He doesn't believe that it's real at all. And okay. I think this is really interesting in particular out of all these ghost stories. This one gets me because he kind of breaks down the skepticism of it, and I love that. Okay. I think something really important about being a ghost hunter or being passionate about ghosts is the skepticism. Because if you just believe everything, I feel like that kind of takes the magic out of it.
Yeah.
Like, it is fun to always, like, you know, you hear a ghost story about some random place, and you're like, oh, cool, that's great. But I want to know, like, I would much rather hear, like, the things that people have done to debunk it and, like, still find out that it's true, you know? Like, I just love when there's that kind of level of consideration to it. Sawyer believes that the haunting is a legend, and he said, "I thought it was crazy from the beginning, and I didn't find anything in my research to make me think otherwise. One, she's not haunting the place where she died, but the craziest thing is about the eyes of her ghost looking out through the eyes of her father's portrait. Even the year of her death was reported erroneously." Sawyer said that in his research he could find no reports of ghostly Burleson sightings until the staging of a 1988 play written about her life called Cancelled Destiny. So, this appears to be one of the... What? Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm just shook that she got her own play.
I was like, oh my god, do you know something about this play?
No.
I would love to watch it. I think this is very cool. But yeah, basically, I think it was one of those things of like... I think this happened with like Ghost Watch. When there's like a particularly striking piece of media about ghosts, people report more sightings of ghosts.
Right.
And this is basically his theory, is that he thinks that that's what happened. He said, "Cancelled Destiny suggests that the end of an affair with a Tennessee writer and Pulitzer Prize-winning novelist contributed substantially to Miss Burleson's decision to end her life. However, Sawyer's research basically showed that there was no correlation between her suicide and her former relationship with this man. His name was Stribling. He said, Dr. Sawyer said, "The affair with Stribling began sometime in the early to mid-1920s and ended in 1930 when he married another woman. But Sawyer does point out that Burleson and Stribling continued to write and remained friends. Burleson settled into life as an English professor at ETSU and fashioned a distinguished career for herself." So, again, nobody's really sure why she did what she did, but that speculation has kind of been squashed. He said, I don't want people to lose sight of the fact that she had quite a career at the university. If she wasn't a Shakespeare scholar, I probably wouldn't have done this research at all. There's also the fact that she wasn't married and she didn't have children. I can really relate to her developing a surrogate family of faculty, friends, and former students, as she seems to have done. And I thought that was really sweet.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the story of Ms. Burleson. And we're going to get into my favorite building of all of these, because I lived in this building.
No way.
And this is one that I have stories about. I'm so excited. Okay, so, supposedly, and I believe it, the most haunted building on this campus is reported to be Lucille Clement Hall. Now, y'all, if any of my friends from college are listening, there's a chance you were in this building with me. I know a lot of people that lived in this building, specifically because it was really cheap. Funnily enough, I lived there my freshman and sophomore years. The first year, I had a randomly assigned roommate, and the rooms are so small. And I lived with this girl, and listen, teenage girls are not always going to be the cleanest, but our room was kind of a shit show. It wasn't really my fault, but it was a mess. And the thing is, I realized after this that 2 people to a room was a lot, but apparently in the past, they would house 4 people to a room. 4. Count them. 4 people to this tiny room. Not any bigger than this room that we're in right now. Tiny. It blows my mind. Cruel and unusual punishment. But it was cheap, so I lived there for 2 years. The second year, I actually managed to get enough financial aid that I lived there by myself. So that was fun. It was basically the building that, it didn't have a bathroom to each room. You had to use a communal bathroom. But if you could put up with that, you could afford to live there alone. So that was really great. But anyway, there are multiple spirits that are said to haunt this building.
I'm ready.
The most common ones you'll hear about are a little boy with marbles, marble boy, a girl who turns on the faucets in the bathrooms, they call her sink girl, creative, a woman who will loom over you, and a man that will speak to you and then disappear. Marble boy is by far the most popular. The ghosts, I literally walked into this building on my tour and someone started telling me about Marble Boy. Basically, the story goes that he was, I want to say, like he was a pretty young kid. He was like 7 or so. And he was playing marbles while they were still constructing the building. And he fell down an elevator shaft. Yeah. This, sidebar, this building is, I think, a total of like 5.5 floors. I say 5.5 because there's a partial basement where the laundry rooms are, and then the residential area is like 5 floors. So he fell from like the roof, supposedly, and he died. And so people constantly hear marbles like rolling around either on the ceiling or like out in the hallways. Most commonly, people will hear things like, if you're in your room, you'll hear them rolling around on the ceiling. But the scary thing is, you'll read accounts of people that are on the 5th floor, the top floor, that will hear things on their ceiling, like people are up there. So,
no thanks.
Yeah. There have been a large amount of reports from students who reside here stating that in the middle of the night, they can hear marbles being dropped on the ground. I think this is really funny, because I don't think this is actually like a legit story. But there was this guy that I knew that kind of hung out on my floor a lot. And one day I came out in the hall and he was standing there and he was like, yo, check this out. And someone had left like a couple of marbles in the water fountain. And he was like, yo, isn't that crazy? And I was like, yup. So spooky. Ooh. A ghost totally did that. I feel like he probably did it.
Probably.
But anyway, so there have been many reports of sinks and faucets randomly being turned on by the girl Sink Girl as well.
Can we rename her?
I wish someone would.
Let's call her Judith.
Judith. Yeah, so Judith, I actually may have had one of these experiences, because I remember like I would go in the bathroom in the middle of the night and like, you know, it's a communal bathroom. Lots of people use it. But I'd go in there and it would be completely empty and all the sinks would be on. Like all the way around. Because it was like kind of a loop. And there were sinks on either side of this wall. And all the sinks would be on. And I would be like, who the fuck left the sinks on? But nobody would be around. And if I remember right, they were like the ones that you push. And there's like a set amount of water. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So someone would have had to go around and turn them all on and then run for them to still all be on when I came in. And I didn't hear the doors open. I didn't see anyone in the hallway.
And they don't really last that long.
And they
either,
don't last that long. So I never really thought about that until I was doing this, but I may have been in the moment, in the heat of the moment with Miss Sink Girl, Miss Judith. These two spirits are accompanied by what many think to be the ghosts of the victims of a plane crash that happened in the parking lot. It barely missed the building. This happened in 1985. All 3 passengers died in this plane crash. Supposedly, those people... I feel like I've been saying supposedly a lot this episode, but, you know. Apparently, there was a plane crash. All 3 of the passengers died. People have reported seeing ghosts that may or may not have been those passengers. And then... students who live in this dorm have reported their TVs searching through channels by themselves, the elevator doors opening and shutting when no one is there, a soda bottle that was sent flying. There are no other details about that. I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
I need context. That could have just been a frat boy.
Yeah, seriously. Could have been literally anything. And the woman looking over you while you sleep and the man that disappears after speaking. We got another story from our man J-Boy.
Yes!
J-Boy74 says, this story was sent in by a good friend of mine named Mandy. Mandy says, I lived in Lucille Clement Hall last year, and there are many different ghosts and spirits that live in the dorm. The spirit of Lucy still roams the halls. There was one girl who said that Lucy followed her throughout the dorm. One night, she woke up and looked over at her roommate's bed. There was someone standing over her, but she knew that she had locked the door. She called out to her roommate and woke her up to tell her what was happening. She looked up and said, go back to sleep. It's just Lucy. You know that. I would not just go back to sleep, especially if I was the one being loomed over. Are you kidding me?
No.
I mean,
I would pee myself.
That is bravery right there.
Truly.
I woke up really early one morning and went to the bathroom, which was outside my door. While I was in there, I heard the elevator open and the fire door open, but no room door. I waited for a second and then stepped out. There was no one in the hall, and no one's doors open besides mine. I went to my room, and when I walked in the door, I got a chill and ran to my bed. No more late-night trips to the bathroom for me. There is also the little boy on the roof who likes to play marbles. As it was told to me, he was the son of a janitor who was playing on the roof one day when he got too close to the edge and fell off. On the other floors, you can hear when the person above you drops something. Well, you can hear it on the 5th floor, too, the top floor. There is nothing up there to fall. I only heard the noise once, but certain residents heard it all the time. I've also heard that the steps were haunted. I've heard 2 versions of who it was. I heard that it was a janitor and that it was from one of the people in the plane crash on the intramural fields. I also heard that the crash wasn't fatal, so I'm not sure who it actually could be. I just know that when you come up these steps by yourself that you feel like someone passes by you. The elevator is also supposed to be haunted. It opens for no reason without anyone in it, and sometimes it takes you to the 2nd floor when you pushed one and there was no one waiting to get on. The elevator is old, though, and is probably the reason it does that. Who knows? And then, you know, she sends some pleasantries to J-Boy, but I'm not going to read those. So yeah, that's Mandy's account, and I feel like she pretty much sums up, like, the gist of what people see.
Sure.
That was Lucille Clement. We're moving on to the last few. These are all relatively short. Mathis Hall, we have another email from Jboy74. The spirit here, whoever it might be, tends to follow around the maintenance workers while they are cleaning at night. Many of them have reported being followed by disembodied footsteps that stop whenever the staff member does. Another worker claims that she heard mysterious crashing sounds from an upper floor while she was otherwise alone in the building. That one just makes me think that y'all got raccoons.
True.
We have Dosset Hall, yet again, another email for Jboy74. Karen sent this one in. Karen says, I used to live on campus at ETSU. I lived in Dosset Hall. My friends and I would always laugh when something out of the ordinary would happen and say it was Nell Dosset, the lady the dorm was named after. Mind you, this was an old building, but the water would turn on when no one was around, the sink. Cold spots in the hallway and in the room. When I went there, we only had a phone in the hallway for everyone to use. Many times the phone would ring late at night and no one would be on the line. I would just be outside my unlocked door with me having no key and the door would slam shut, wind or whatever, and when I tried to open it, it was locked. Little tricks that Nell liked to play on us. Take it or leave it, ghosts or just things that happened. And this is for Cooper Hall. Now, I had never heard of this one because this is a building that was actually demolished long before I went to school here. The ghost of Cooper Hall was said to be a very sad young woman, the daughter of a wealthy businessman named George Carter. George Carter donated the land that ETSU was built on. Alice, as the students called her, fell in love with a young man, but her parents refused to let them marry, and, again, suicide warning, she ingested a lethal dose of rat poison.
Jeez.
Her father was grief-stricken over the loss of his daughter and decided to immortalize her in a stained glass window that was installed in the family home. When Carter died in 1936, the college purchased the house and named it Cooper Hall, and it was opened as a dorm for senior women. It was then that the haunting began.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. People would hear a female voice singing in the halls, unearthly screams sometimes filled the night, objects disappeared and turned up in other places. Some of the girls complained that they felt they were being watched. Most of these strange events took place in the vicinity of the stained glass window. Later on, the house was abandoned and the window was removed. It has since been lost. How do you lose a stained glass window?
Those bitches are heavy.
Heavy. I mean, I feel like it just got busted and nobody wanted to admit it.
Right.
The window was removed, it has since been lost, and the stories of the haunting of Cooper Hall continued for years even after the building was no longer used. Here's the thing about this one that I found very interesting, though. A Johnson City historian by the name of Ray Stahl was writing a story about the haunting and discovered something interesting about the house and the Carter family. Take a guess.
Human trafficking.
Nope.
Okay.
George Carter didn't have a daughter. He had a son. The only child of the Carters was named James Walter Carter, and from photos of the time, he was a beautiful child with long flowing hair like a girl's. This quote is interesting to me. It says, apparently his parents had never gotten over the fact that he had been born a boy. So make of that what you will.
All right.
I have my own opinions about that, but I'll keep them to myself. Anyway, so Stahl believes that Jimmy, or James, or Jimmy, was the model for the stained glass window, but he cannot argue with the fact that generations of students and maintenance workers have had contact with some sort of spirit in the building. After the time that it spent as a dormitory, the building became office space and a campus radio station. It was torn down in 1984, but people continued to encounter the ghost, which is very interesting to me. Unfortunately, this is one of those places that you can never visit because it's gone, but right. I would love to know, like, was there something else there? What happened? Like, yeah. Maybe there was something that happened there that nobody ever knew about, like the parents or anything didn't know about until they sold it to the university. I don't know. According to staff, they could find no one who was brave enough to inhabit the place with the ghosts, so that's why it was torn down.
Nice.
Now, we have one more, and this one is maybe my favorite. I actually wasn't going to include this one until I was, like, sitting down and compiling all these notes, and then I remembered some stories that I personally heard, so this one doesn't really have any, written sources to it. This is just me kind of loosely recounting stuff that I remember.
I got you.
So now we have the campus center building, and this is directly across the quad from the art building. So there are a couple of studios in there. There's a couple of classrooms that they would use for like the core art classes, and this is also the building that houses the women's studies department's offices. Like I said, this is one that I couldn't really find anything online, but allegedly this building used to house some of the medical sciences classes, like the surgeons and that kind of thing.
Okay.
And it is rumored that there is an abandoned morgue in the basement that they have boarded up. Yeah. And apparently, I never went down there, but apparently, according to some of my friends that did, you can see, like, there's, like, a ramp that seems like it would have led down where you could have rolled, like, a gurney. That kind of thing. Like, there's just some, like, remaining architecture that looks very, like, creepy and hospital-y. I remember my freshman year, this older classmate came in, and she showed us all this picture that she had taken on her phone of something she had seen in the basement the night before. There is a bathroom down there in the basement, I believe, and she had gone to the bathroom or something. I think she'd either gone to the bathroom or, like, had gone to look for some supplies in one of the closets or something.
Gotcha.
And when she came back, like, she turned around at the end of the hall, it looked like there was a person standing at the very corner of the hallway, like, peeking out like they were hoping she wouldn't see. And so she took the picture and she showed it to all of us, and it literally looks like there's somebody, like, standing at the end of the hall, like, back flat to the wall, like, peeking around.
I don't like that.
I didn't like it either. I was like, this is fake, right? And she said, no, absolutely not. I took that last night. I was like, keep it away. Like I said, I never went down to the basement by myself. I never went down there at all. But I did have a couple of classes in that building. I do remember one night I was in there, and the class that I was taking was like a sculpture class. And I was working on a project, and I was the only person there. All my classmates had left. So it was just me. I had the door open, like the classroom door. And in the classroom, there was a supply closet. And I had that door open too, because I needed to go in and out of there and get tools and stuff. And it automatically locked, like if you shut it. So the professor had like left it open for me, and I was just going in and out of there. But I was getting ready to clean up and go home. And I had left the lights on in the closet, and I was washing out some paintbrushes at the sink that was like across the room. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw like the lights start to flicker in that closet. And I was like, that's kind of weird. But I went in there, and they kept flickering, and I was like, okay, well, this isn't like motion detecting or anything. So I'm just going to assume that one of these bulbs is trying to die, and I'm done in here anyway. So I turned off the lights and closed the door, and I went back to washing my paintbrushes. And then the lights in the classroom started going, like all of them. And I was like, okay, I need to go now. So I packed up my shit and I left.
Yeah.
It was scary. I didn't actually see a ghost, but I did see that, and that was unsettling.
More than enough. We didn't need to see the ghost. We saw that.
For sure. I was like, regardless of whether or not this is actually a ghost or an electrical issue, I do not want to remain to find out. So I washed my stuff and I left. So that is basically all I have for these ghost stories. However, I do have one fun fact to end on that I really enjoyed.
Let's go.
From June 2011 until December 2012, the world's oldest person was a woman named Bessie Cooper. Bessie Cooper was an ETSU alum who graduated in 1916, and she was a lifelong resident of Sullivan County. Sullivan County is, ETSU's in Washington County. Sullivan County is the county like next door, very close by.
Wow.
She lived to be like 116 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And apparently I read an interview with her where her son talked about how she had worn her class ring until she literally couldn't anymore. And the doctor had to cut it off her finger, but she still kept it. And when she died, he said that he was going to donate it to the university. So I would imagine, she passed away in 2012. I would imagine that they have her ring somewhere.
Bro, wow, that is crazy.
Isn't that crazy? I thought that was really cool.
Imagine living to be 116 years old.
Think about all the things that she saw and did. She graduated college in 1916.
So she was what, 21, 22?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just thought that was really fun. But yeah, those are all maybe not all the ghosts that you'll find at ETSU, but those are the most prominent ones. And
well, I'm going to go find that morgue.
I wish you wouldn't. I could show you where the building is.
Let's go.
One of these days
we'll just sneak up there. We'll just sneak up there.
Yeah, let's go.
No one knows I'm not a student.
Yeah.
Here's my
I bet I
student ID.
I still have my student ID.
Let's go.
They probably look so different now.
Oh
my god, I don't even want to know. I saw somebody the other day. I see quite a few people that like have ETSU parking passes, and I still have mine on my car even though I graduated in 2019. I keep seeing people that have like the updated ones, and they look so different. And I'm just like, it's been 84 years.
Jesus Christ.
It's been 2, and I still feel like I'm ancient.
Well,
so yeah, I hope you enjoyed.
I really did.
My ghost stories. I had a lot of fun researching those.
Well, what's your issue this week?
My issue is this. So. I said this in last week's recording. Basically every Sunday. We always get together on Sundays because we're both guaranteed to be off work. Pretty much every Subway since we start. Jesus. See, it's on my mind. It's really burning me up from the inside.
We can't get over it.
Every Sunday we order Subway, pretty much. And today, we both were running a little short of cash, but we were talking about it and we were like, okay, we're gonna get some Subway. We're hungry. We got to do it. So, as we are wont to do, I placed the order on the app. I got it ready. I was so excited. I had a coupon code, BOGO50. Got 50% off of our second sub. I was ready. And I get a call. And I see the area code, and I just knew. I was like, damn it, this is the Subway by my house. And I answered, and I hear, hello, is this... And he said my name, and I was like, yeah, who is this? And he goes, this is Daniel from Subway. And he sounded distressed. And he explained to me that they couldn't make either of our sandwiches because A, the toaster is broken, and B, they were out of meatballs. And Zack ordered a meatball sub. So he was like, your money will be refunded to you. I can't refund it right now. My manager's on the way, but it should be back on your card within the next day or so. But we can't make your sandwiches. So my issue this week is that I got rejected by Subway. And it made me really sad because I was really excited about that steak and cheese. I modified it. I put my Chipotle ranch on there or whatever the fuck it is. I was ready, and I didn't get to eat it.
I'm also bummed because I paid $3 extra for double meat.
Same. Ugh.
Anyway, my issue this week: Survivor roleplay.
Okay, but you can't just keep using Survivor roleplay.
Well, okay. People who take online games for no money too seriously.
Okay.
I will not name names, but someone in one of the games that I'm watching right now has been incredibly toxic and gross, and it has been awful to watch.
Is it someone that you're going to have to play with? Well, you don't know yet, do you?
I don't know yet. The cast hasn't been revealed yet. But I told my boss that if I ever got casted with her, that I would drop out. Because I'm not dealing with it. And I'll tell you more about it after this.
Yeah, give me the tea.
But oh my God, it has been a rough ride. Anyway, that's my issue this week. Life is very serious. So when people use online games as escapism, why make it so serious?
Yeah. It's not that deep.
It's really not that deep. Well, do you have anything else you would like to add?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Okay, well.
Where can the people find us?
The people can find us looking for that morgue. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I can't believe that I went there for 4 years and I never went in that basement.
I'm mad that you didn't.
I'm mad that I didn't.
That girl would have shown me that picture and I would have been like, can you send me that picture?
Yeah.
I'm going to send you my location. We're going to the basement.
I wonder if she remembers that. I see her on Instagram and stuff every now and again, and I feel like now I should reach out and be like, do you remember taking this photo of this ghost in the student center building?
And if she still has it.
I wonder if she would. It's been a long time. That'd be pretty cool though.
Well, anyway, if you want to reach out to us and find us, we got a couple social medias. So it's going to be at issues_podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok.
Just plug that info into any old social media and see if something pops up.
Tumblr.
It might be us.
LinkedIn.
Stumble upon.
Omegle.
Oh,
no. No, don't go on Omegle.
Please don't go on. For the safety of yourself and your loved ones, don't go on
And your
Omegle.
computer.
And your computer.
Ugh.
And your eyeballs. Be safe out there, kids.
Be safe. Don't go on Omegle. Have a good time. Find some ghost stories. If you find a morgue, let me know.
We'll catch you next time. Thank you for listening.
Adios. Thank you so much.
If you liked what you heard, please share it with your friends. And, yeah.
That's it.
Bye-bye.
That's the podcast.